Hi, welcome to Blinkity Bloop. I'm Drew D'Amelia.
And I'm Nick Padula.
And this is a podcast where we talk about movies that have come out recently. So if you are in the mood to listen to people that are sort of into movies as a secondary thing, talking about them.
Yeah. It's a secondary passion, I'd say.
Yeah, because our primary passion is our band, Blinkity Bloop, which is not this podcast.
Yeah.
And here we go again, talking about more movies that we have seen, because that's what we gotta do. And Nick, why don't you fish out of this hat first? Because as you know, we're gonna randomly pick movies from a hat and talk about them.
That's what we do here on Blinkity Bloop, the podcast, not the band.
Yep, the band is great.
Yep. And this podcast is good. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this movie, nothing to do with music. It actually had no music throughout the entire thing. It was an avant-garde art film.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very... I don't know how to feel. It was very divisive. It divided a lot of critics, but in the end, I think it was a valuable piece of cinema.
Okay.
And this is Hellfest.
Wow. That's crazy. No music in Hellfest.
Okay, so there was... Yeah, it was another Hellfest I was actually thinking of.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, there was actually 5 of them.
Wow. And 4 of them didn't have music, but you just landed on the one that did.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep, what are the chances? But anyways, Hellfest, interesting title, very bold to just jump out and be like, okay, so you know the place in Christian mythology that is like eternal damnation, everything, you know that? Well,
Heaven?
No, the other one.
Oh, Earth.
No. The other one.
Oh, God.
Closer. It's hell. It's hell.
Oh, gee,
so you think, a place like that, a place that where all nightmares come from, it's very bold, and it's a fest, so
That's short for festival.
yes, for those of you who weren't aware. But it's basically an amusement park full of scares.
Okay.
And, you see teenagers go to it, and everyone dresses up in weird, spooky costumes, and everyone's scaring each other. And there's workers there that do, like, the more professional scares, the more high-budget scares that aren't just spooky costumes. And they have, like, one of those rides that you hop in, and you go in this dark corridor, and it takes you along a little rail, and every so often a spooky thing jumps out at you. Yeah, exactly.
I was just going to thinking about it.
Classic spooky ride.
Sure.
But there's a twist here, you see. It's not just a straight amusement park where nothing happens. There happens to be a murderer in the midst of all these fun teens having spooky fun.
Say it ain't so.
I am afraid I must say it is so, lad.
Oh, goodness. It sounds like we're in for a bit of a hellfest.
You could say that. Because we are.
I did.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed this is not just about an amusement park in hell.
That would be fucking amazing.
Right? I mean, just, all right, everyone, it's your day off. Like, just think about it. Everyone gets one day off in hell, and they get to go to this kick-ass fucking amusement park. Oh, man.
They have a Six Flags in hell.
Pretty much.
Just like, all right, everyone, after this, it's back to the fire pits. So enjoy it while you can.
I'm gonna get some popcorn.
Man, this cotton candy is the best I've ever had in my life, and you're not gonna have it again for another 365 days. You're just gonna be eating salt and rocks for 365 days.
Ah, man, that'd be the life.
It would be, but eating rocks in hell
just to get cotton candy that one day, though.
That cotton candy would taste extra good.
Makes it all worth it.
Yep. Wonder what Heaven Fest would be like.
Just like bocce.
It's like, oh, Grandpa got another few points. I don't know how bocce works.
Isn't this fun, guys? It's like lawn bowling. Come on.
I don't understand the appeal.
We get to do this every day.
I mean, isn't this heaven? Can't we do whatever we want? No.
Only bocce.
What are they doing in hell right now? They're burning and eating rocks. That sounds more fun.
Well, they're also eating salt. Oh, man.
I don't
Rocks
know.
and salt.
That sounds like a very sodium-heavy diet.
You will eat your seltzer and lemon chicken and you'll like it.
That's the only meal they serve in heaven.
It's just bocce and lemon chicken with seltzer.
All right. Well, now that we've broken down different festivities for the two afterlives,
Yes.
So Hellfest, the actual one in this movie, there is a murderer on the loose who wears a spooky mask, and everyone sees him, and they see him stabbing people, and they're like, oh, that's part of the show. And it's,
I like that premise a lot.
Yeah, and it's part of it was based on an urban legend where a kid during Halloween hung himself in a Halloween costume, and everyone thought it was a prop for like a week, and then it didn't go away, and it started to smell. Yeah. So he kills someone and leaves them there, and they're just like, oh, that's a really realistic dummy. And it was a corpse. Whoops. So one really good part about this movie is there's different set pieces for these different horror rides, and they're very creative. Like, there's a private Catholic school horror ride, and there's none, like, demon people in the ride, and that was very creative. Each of the rides was very creative, and like the horror houses you have to walk through, very
It sounds like it'd actually be great to go to.
It like I would definitely love to go to it if it was real, and if this movie was just a tour of a real life amusement park, I'd be like, great, let's get tickets. But it was there was plot, so it became a problem.
Oh God!
Plot getting in the way of a good amusement park. But, so one of the highlights for me, the main girl has this relationship with this guy who isn't really taking the lead as much. He's a very polite, gentle fellow, and his friends are egging him on like, come on, bro, kiss her. And he's just like, oh, geez, you guys, I don't know. And he doesn't seem to fit in at all with his, like, macho friends. He's just very, like, reserved, and he keeps not making moves, and it's like, well, okay, I guess that's nice, but then it just kind of gets annoying after a while, and he's just polite to the point of it just becoming irritating, where it's just like, all right, well, she's clearly dropping hints she likes you, so the fact that you're not acting on this starts to just become annoying. And he continues to not do anything with this, and it's just like, okay, I'm getting kind of tired of him. But conveniently, and I really wasn't expecting this, and this was a moment, along with the set pieces, that was probably one of the best parts of the movie, but he gets cornered in a locker room by the killer, who, like, knocks him down. And you know those carnival games where you take the hammer and you smash it, and it makes a bell go up?
Yeah, the hammer bell.
Yeah, that game.
Of course.
Well, okay, so they had one just sitting around the locker room of this carnival.
Okay.
And the guy trips backwards and falls against it. And I'm just like, oh, how's he going to get out of this one? Because he's the love interest, so he's obviously going to get out of this. And he's going to survive until at least near the end, where him and the girl share a kiss and maybe he gets stabbed or something. But this movie threw me for a loop because he's against this, and the killer just has a hammer. I'm just like, oh, that's interesting, because the hammer goes with the game. And he smashes the kid's kneecaps first, and then he I believe he hits him in the throat. And so he's like, and so then the killer brings the hammer over his head and brings it down on his head, and it makes the bell thing go up and ring, and it so his head gets fucking smashed, and he wins the carnival prize.
That's good. What prize?
I think it was probably like a teddy bear. It didn't show it.
Was that actually a thing? Did some barker go, "Hey, you get a prize"? Well,
no, because it was in an abandoned part of the park, and if the barker saw a kid's head get smashed, like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like just look down, like.
I'm gonna go home to my wife and children.
It's a great day to be a blind carnival barker.
That sounded like a man's head getting smashed, but it could be a watermelon. I'm gonna assume it's the latter.
It's usually a watermelon.
Gallagher's always coming in here smashing watermelons. Must be him.
It just sounds like it was a fine horror movie.
Yeah. The best parts were there were a few creative kills, and the set pieces again were pretty fun. There were some creative things going on there, but besides that, it was a very generic slasher flick. And there was a kind of twist ending where the guy. The killer, you think he's dead, but of course with killers in these movies, they always like live through it and, go on to be a terrible asshole. But he gets to his house and he takes his mask off and he's just a normal looking dude. And he has like a young daughter waiting for him, and she's like, "Daddy!" And she goes up and hugs him. He's like, "I missed you, pumpkin. How was your Halloween?" She's like, "Good, I got lots of candy." And it's like this warm, familial moment. And, out of context, it's like, that guy seems like a nice dad, but you just saw him kill like 12 teenagers. And then you see like him open a cabinet of other masks, and he put the mask on that. And it implies that each year he pulls out a different mask on Halloween and is a different, like, persona.
Well, let me tell you this.
Yep.
This movie, it actually was so good that there's now a religion revolved around it.
Wow. That must be a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to understand when I tell you what the movie is, of course.
Right.
Which is The Nun.
Wow. That is way too.
Whoa!
We've rarely been that close before.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
What religion?
Judaism.
Tell me about The Nun. This is another horror movie that I have not seen.
Well, you're fine.
Okay.
You didn't miss anything important.
Not as good as Hellfest?
I'd say it was worse than Hellfest. It is from the same... Okay, this is really dumb, but on the poster it says, "From the Conjuring universe."
Oh.
And I'm just like, you're trying to do the Marvel thing with a horror movie that only had, I think, 3 movies in the franchise. The Conjuring, Annabelle, and The Conjuring 2. And now The Nun.
Was there not another one?
Not yet.
There's Annabelle Creation, right?
Oh, okay. I guess there was another one.
It is a universe, Nick.
It's a mythos. But I don't think it earned that title. It's not like...
It's like the Cloverfield paradox of the Conjuring movies.
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate comparison.
All right.
I really like The Conjuring 1 and 2. I didn't see Annabelle because... fucking scary doll, who gives a shit. But this was and the nun, the titular nun, is one of the scary ghosts in The Conjuring 2. And when she showed up in The Conjuring 2, they were legitimately scary moments because she was in this really creepy painting from like the 18th century, and it's this nun with yellow eyes and like gray skin and just like this like death glare that like burrows into you. And then like it's just like, that's a really creepy painting. And then you see a shadow like in the distance, and as it gets closer you see those same yellow eyes. I'm like, I'm pissing my pants.
But it could just be a snake.
It could be a snake in the shape of a nun. Wait, that's a snake in disguise.
You got me.
Snaky, no snaking.
It also talks.
Yeah.
I'll get you next time.
Okay.
This really took a twist.
So, much like the Star Wars prequels, which is a very weird thing to take this to, but this explains a thing that was great in a movie that we don't need to have explained to us. But interestingly, Vera Farmiga's sister, I forgot her name, something Farmiga, but She's one of the main characters in this, and Vera was in The Conjuring 1 and 2. And this takes place in the 18th century, so I'm like, is there any connection between them? Do they have the same last name? And it's just like, nope, just two sisters in real life who happen to be in the same movie series.
Nepotism in the Conjuring universe.
Strikes again, Hollywood. But it goes to 18th century Italy, and it's just like, hey, there's this what is that, a nunnery? I'm trying to think of what those places are called. I think it's a nunnery where it's like
nun house,
nun town.
Welcome to my nun palace,
where there's all the nuns you can feast your eyes on.
You'll be safe here in my nun fort.
There will be no priest who will break in and destroy the sanctity of our nuns.
The impenetrable nun.
Nungeon.
Oh, no.
I think that's the best.
Oh, no. All right. I quit.
Game over. All right. Anyways, the setting was pretty interesting, and it shows how this place is full of a deep ancient evil. And then they explain why it's deep and ancient. It's just like, okay, stop with the story. Just give me the scares. I'm not here for your shit story. Because, again, Conjuring 1 and 2, great. But I don't know what the deal with this was and why it was so much worse. But it was just kind of corny. And when there were scares, it was just very corny jump scares. And the nun, just by the end of it, you see her so much that it stops being scary. Just like, oh, hey, look, it's that thing that can kill you immediately. Oh, well.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw The Conjuring, and I'm not too familiar with it anymore. But what it's sounding like from where I'm sitting is that what made those movies scary is you'd see stuff and you wouldn't know much about them and you wouldn't spend too much time with them. So what made it scary is your lack of familiarity.
The mystery.
And this is going against that in every way because you're spending a lot of time with this creature.
Yeah.
And then it's not scary anymore. And so they're, oh, well, what do we do to make things scary? We go, boo!
Yeah, that's all. There's no like build up. It's just like, oh, hey, this preacher is trying to exorcise the demons from the nungeon. That's what I'm gonna call it now.
Okay.
He like just wakes up buried in a casket 6 feet under, and he's just like, and there was a setup earlier where it's like each gravestone had a little bell over it when there were accidental burials. It's just like, oh, that's a thing in real life. Oh, creative. And then so the girl is trying to look for her priest friend, and the ghosts are making all the bells ring, which was actually kind of creepy and creative. But she did manage to find him eventually, and they eventually exorcised the demon or whatever. It was very forgettable, the ending, but there were a few good tense moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not as good as Hellfest, though.
Good to know.
Yep.
Well, let's see if we get another horror movie here.
Oh, man, yeah, we've been on a roll. Let's lighten it up with another comedy.
Another comedy? The Nun was funny?
On accident. Okay, so this movie, I was hoping for a comedy, but no, I just got a straight-up Victorian tragedy.
Oh, wow.
About two families that are at war and two lovers that come together, and their families' hatred of one another tears each other apart. I'm, of course, talking about Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich.
It was another horror movie.
Okay.
That I didn't see.
We're on a very weird roll here, and I'm not, like, the biggest fan of it.
How's it feel? You're steering the ship now. I'm just sitting here listening to you talk about, I watched a scary movie, Drew. Ooh.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry that I spent my time watching Smallfoot 3 times in a row.
Did you actually?
No.
Okay, good. I was really concerned for your mental health for a moment.
It was 4.
Okay. So I wouldn't actually classify this as horror. I guess it technically falls under the title, but it's largely a comedy. And At first, I was like, oh, this seems like a very funny, dark comedy. And I see reviews, and I'm like, it's very raunchy and very offensive and not very PC. And I'm just like, all right, well, we'll see if that holds up. And let me tell you, it did.
Uh-oh.
I saw some horribly offensive stuff. I just, like, I had to, like, pause it at one point and be like, because I was so mad.
I mean, I think we are people that laugh at things that we know we shouldn't laugh at. But
I have a very dark sense of humor.
Yeah, but was this over the line?
It was exploitative. Okay, before I get into the offensive stuff, I just want to give a little bit of background about the Puppet Master franchise, which apparently I had no idea has been going on since the 80s. It's always been about this dude who gives life through magic to puppets and they kill people. It's very basic, and they're like, there's a few iconic ones, like there's this one with a creepy little skull face and a creepy hat, and he has a hook for one hand and then like a little butcher knife for another, and they kill people in gruesome ways, and it's very basic. And the most recent one, I didn't see the other ones, but this one, they did a bit of retconning by making the Puppet Master a Nazi.
Ah.
Yes. So, this Nazi puppet master, he escaped Nazi Germany and he comes to America and he's like, all right, I'm just gonna set my puppets loose and I'm dying, so I'm gonna go bury myself in my magic mausoleum that when I die, it brings my puppets to life. You know.
Yeah.
Because that's a thing.
Yeah. No, I read that on a history book.
Right. But anyways, the puppets are unleashed, and it's just like, oh, what's gonna happen? And we cut to this sad comic writer. He wants to go to a convention with his friends because it's a retrospective on the guy who 30 years ago let magic puppets loose on a town, and they're like, here's his house, and this is all the fucked up shit he did. It's like getting a tour of some awful, infamous killer's house. So they're all staying in a convention center, and everyone, you know, when the convention wraps up for the day, they all go in the same hotel. I will say, this movie, if it has anything going for it, it has one of the highest body counts I've seen in a horror movie.
Wow.
Yeah. And
is it like more than 3?
It's like at least 20 or 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
No. It wasn't earned. Yeah. There's a Jewish couple, and they're hanging out in their room, and some of them came to the convention center to sell their own versions of these puppets that killed people because there were multiple copies made. And they're like, oh, where'd our puppet go? And it turns out it came to life, and it happens to have a little flamethrower for an arm. And if you know anything about the Holocaust, you know that fire was involved in the... Oh, wow, this is hard to talk about. You would know that fire was involved in many, many deaths of Jewish people. And surprise, surprise, this Nazi puppet burns 2 Jewish people to death, and you see their smoldering corpses.
So... was it trying to be funny? Because
I think it was trying to be edgy.
Okay, because here's the thing. I don't want to make you talk about all the instances of this, but can I deduce from what you've shared that there are a lot of offensive Jewish people deaths in this?
Not exactly. That's actually the only... Okay, that's not the only Jewish death, but there's other races of people getting killed.
Okay, what is it? Just people the Nazis didn't like, or
kind of, but they kill. Eventually, it gets to a point where they're just killing everybody.
Okay, so it becomes non-discriminate at a certain point.
Yeah, but another one that I think was probably the fucking worst is there is a pregnant woman. Oh my, yeah, just rethinking about this, it just like hits me again how awful it was. But a pregnant black woman is sitting in her hotel room, and her husband just left the room to get, I don't know, ice or something.
Doritos.
Doritos, right. And there's a little puppet who has 2 drills for hands, and he has a drill on his head. And I think she's sleeping, actually, on her bed. And the drill guy climbs up and gets up against her vagina. I said that like Obama. It's like a vagina.
I did hear Obama talking about this exact scene.
Yeah, that's true. And he drilled inside her from that direction, and then he drilled up through her stomach, holding her unborn child, and then he fucking impaled it.
Okay. So I thought this was going to go in a direction where it was Nazi themed, I suppose, but it just sounds like there is almost to misdirect you, really. It does.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying I'm disappointed that these aren't more Jewish deaths, but is there even a point to them being Nazis?
Okay, I will say that a lot of who they kill are not white people. But then it gets to a point where white people are preventing them from killing more non-white people, so they kill those white people.
Okay, so I guess the Nazi aspect is somewhat related.
The Nazi part isn't the problem. The problem is the edgy humor that I have. Like, I'm not the quote-unquote PC type, but, like, it's not... Like, if it was a white woman getting drilled into and having her fetus impaled, I'd be just as fucking bothered.
Is it supposed to be funny? Because I can see a version of this where it's actually serious.
No, it's not. Because he's holding a fetus in his hands. There's no way that's supposed to be taken
Maybe.
seriously.
Listen, I know it's called Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich, but maybe they were going for an actual, just horrifying, visceral drama here.
No, because there were also jokes made throughout the whole thing.
Maybe they were just to relieve tension, and it was really just... I don't know why I'm trying to defend it, but...
Because you haven't seen the fucking Abomination. They kill kids, too. I mean, after killing, like, a fetus, I like, killing a kid is like, okay, whatever. But, like, in my head, it's still registering as bad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And...
So it just sounds like it was a gross... unpleasant movie.
It just was very edgelordy. But okay, one really good kill I thought was hilarious is a guy is like peeing into his toilet standing up, and the puppet comes up from behind him and chops his head off. His head falls into his toilet and his body's still peeing into the toilet onto his own head. So
yeah, that's nice.
That was like one of the best kills in cinema, but it's unfortunate it was attached to one of the most offensive movies I've ever seen. I don't want to put it on a level akin to Birth of a Nation, because Birth of a Nation has artistic value.
Well, it sounds like this has artistic value because someone peed on their own decapitated head.
Yes, but only in that respect.
Birth of a Nation revolutionized editing. This had a guy peeing on his own head, so
it's a bit of an unfair comparison, I suppose. Maybe a better example is Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, that's that though.
I'll tell you this: the movie I'm about to pick, it also made history.
Really?
Yeah,
How
just
so?
like Birth of a Nation.
Oh wow!
Well, it just revolutionized film. Honestly, it had some really good techniques, and you can tell a lot of talented people were working on this movie, which was Mandy. Nicolas Cage movie.
They're all dumb.
Yeah.
What's that guy's deal?
It was great.
It was really good.
Here's the thing. If you're looking at this and going, hey, we got another fun Nicolas Cage movie, here we go. You're looking at it all wrong.
Yeah.
I went into a theater as kind of a midnight showing, and I remember it ended, and this was a spectacular movie, and I know we're going to get into it.
Yep.
But the guy next to me was just like, that was so stupid. And I just feel like he went in there thinking this is going to be a dumb Nicolas Cage movie. And he tried so hard to look at it and go like, it looks...
He yelled funny.
I'm just like, there are maybe two moments that, okay, that's pretty funny, but it's not. If you're looking for the Nicolas Cage memes, look elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just. I mean, there are funny things about it, and it is an absurd movie.
Yeah.
It's very stylized. It's very weird, but it knows what it's up to.
Yeah.
And it's not dumb. It's not a dumb movie.
No, it's very, like, it's a perfect mix of art house and horror and, like, drama and thriller and, yeah.
It's a really simple plot, too. Basically, it's just a revenge story.
Yeah.
It's all it really is. But it's really fun to watch. It's very colorful. Nicolas Cage is a compelling lead. He has some really great, like, just very devastating acting moments.
Yeah, that I was like, I didn't know he had. I mean, I guess I knew I had that in him. He's done some good stuff in the past, but this was on another level, I feel like.
When he's watching his girlfriend's body be burned in front of him, that was just so sad to watch his reaction.
It looked real.
He sold that so. And then there was a scene where he was just in a bathroom, just going through the process of processing this information,
grieving,
basically.
Yeah.
I think it was just all one shot, and the insanity and the absolute grief of his wailing was just. Nicolas Cage has got the stuff, man. He's got the stuff.
He just needs to get put in the right movie. Mm-hmm. And this was the right movie.
Yeah, I'd say the one thing that threw me off is that he was killing a lot of normal dudes that were in his way, but then there were these monster things.
They were like magic bikers on demon LSD.
Yeah, that I mean, it's a ridiculous movie, but it did feel like it was grounded in reality for the most part. I mean, you have a cult that happens in reality. They killed someone. They kidnapped the boyfriend. Shit like that. The boyfriend wants to kill people. But then, I guess there just wasn't enough magic. It felt like a sort of side thing, like, hey, we're monster demons.
Well,
And the thing is, you'd think, all right, so Nicolas Cage has people to hack through.
yeah.
There's regular guys, and then there's monster demons. I'm thinking he's going to build up to the monster demons, because
Right.
they're going to be, like, the fucking hardest ones to kill, and that's going to be the most fun. It goes in reverse. He kills the monster demons off first, and then it's the regular people, and...
Yeah.
But that's the thing, I guess the monster demons weren't really actually any more powerful than
They were
the
just
people?
deformed people, I think, who happened to take LSD that made them kind of have superhero. Because PCP, for example, you can't feel pain when you're on it. So in cases like that, when you're on such like drugs that do that to your body, like who knows what you're capable of.
Yeah, it seemed like the order he killed people was a little bit off.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. And there was a guy with a knife dick in the beginning, and it could have worked better if it was later on.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't exactly care, but it did take me out of it a little bit.
Yeah, and when he took the demon LSD himself, you think that would be used to fight more powerful enemies, but he fought weaker enemies.
Yeah, it
demon
should have been like
LSD.
he kills the regular people, then he takes that demon LSD to kill the demons, right?
Yeah,
That seems about right.
yeah.
But either way,
It still worked.
you're not upset because you
No.
just it's a really, it's not even that tense really. It's just there's something very visceral about it. It's a very visceral movie going experience.
Yeah.
I think it'd be egregious to call it action packed because it's very meditative in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, it definitely, in the beginning, it definitely sells you like a different thing, and then like half an hour after that, something totally different happens. Like it's very peaceful at first, and I remember my girlfriend was watching it with me, and she's like, so is this like a weird meditative, like peaceful kind of movie? And it's kind of like art house, and I'm just like,
Yes. And there was definitely an energy to it throughout
Yeah.
the whole thing because it was a very colorful, bombastic kind of movie.
Yeah.
And I dug it. Mm-hmm. Nicolas Cage was great. The cult leader was great.
Mandy was great.
The scene there were some great cinematic moments, but the scene where you just see the cult leader's face and then it slowly like merges into Mandy's face and merges back to the cult leader's face. Wow. That was such a subtle transition that am I seeing this right?
Yeah.
This is insane. And I think they were going for trying to replicate the effect of drugs and
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It worked very... I was feeling it.
Wow. But would highly recommend Mandy, not as a Nicolas Cage meme movie.
Yeah. In fact, half of the movie, he doesn't even talk.
In fact, I'd even say the meme moments almost don't belong in the way. Like, at one point, he snaps someone's neck, and his eyes are crazy, and he has this wicked smile, and I just go... Listen, that's a good Nicolas Cage meme moment, but maybe put that in another movie.
National Treasure 3.
Yes.
Or no, the Ant Bully 2.
I have to snap the neck of the president. Oh, man. What if National Treasure 2 has got kidnapped the president, but it's Donald Trump?
Oh, shit.
I mean, there we go. That Nicolas Cage... and our fine fearless leader together in a movie.
That would be a very strange mix. I feel like their personalities would clash. Like, which one, like...
Oh, man, I'm into that, man.
Let's get that produced. Let's get John Voight on that.
But for now, we got this next movie we're going to have to talk about.
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you call me?
Ma'am.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I thought you said man.
Yeah, no, that's wrong.
Okay.
All right, so this movie, it's a sequel to a classic, and sequels have a way of retreading the same ground that we were in for the original film. But this forges its own path. It honors the original while doing something all its own.
Okay, so it sounds like it's expanding on an important story.
Exactly, and this is Officer Pigsley.
Oh, shit, that's technically true.
Yeah. The filmmaker did create shorts before this film connected to it.
Yes. You may not be familiar with Officer Pigsley. Essentially, this is a mutual friend of ours, and he has made a feature film.
Well, it's not a feature. It's under an hour.
It's supposed to be a feature film.
He calls it a feature film.
It's a feature film, and... full disclosure, I know this guy, and not that I ever feel inclined to shit on people or their products exactly, but I might feel like I want to go a little bit easier.
No, I'd want to do that too, I think.
I'm sure I'll revisit this one day in a different way, but he actually wanted me to talk about it, and it is technically, I suppose, a release in 2018. I don't think he'll ever hear this, which is comforting, because it was an awful movie. I watched it twice, because the first time I watched it, I went, this is so confusing. There have to be things that I missed. And so I watched it again and went, oh, nope. Basically, from what I understand about the lore of Officer Pigsley, is they had these super kids in these short films they were making, which is the worst special effects you've seen. Just really bad.
Imagine, like, back in the 30s when they had those scrolling backgrounds when, like, you're trying to simulate someone, like, running across, like, a environment, and just imagine it's 10 times worse than that.
It's very bad green screen.
Yeah.
Like, also picture someone running in place, but it's supposed to be motion. Oh, yeah. And that actually happened.
Yep.
And so that's what these short films were. It was about super kids. And from what I understand from the research I've done, they thought, well, what would it be like for the cops in this universe? And they wanted to do this big finale. So you have a story that's about this Officer Pigsley, and he's just not a good cop, apparently.
Yeah, he fucks things up a lot.
So Officer Pigsley, he says something like, I wish things were better. And then the chief of police goes, hey, fuck you. And he gets taken into a limo that has drug dealers or something. And they're like, we like you, Officer Pigsley. Okay, goodbye. And then he gets escorted through a bar that has weird creatures in it.
Yep.
And then he's put into a prison cell.
Yep.
In the bar. And then he's taken out of the bar and he goes to meet a guy that's a bad guy who's like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna keep you alive, okay? Ha ha.
Basically.
Because I know that you're a coward and you're not gonna stop my evil plans, so I'm gonna let you go, ha ha. And so he lets him go, and then Officer Pigsley immediately tries to stop his evil plans by being like, we gotta stop this guy, he's doing something, I guess. And so, this is most of the movie so far. That's the Officer Pigsley plot. And I'm like, okay, I know what's happening here.
Yeah, it was like
he said something. The chief of police fired him, and so he was taking the drug dealers, who took him to a bar that then took him to this other place with this. But I do not know how any of this shit is connected or what it means.
There were no transitions.
It's so confusing. And Officer Pigsley basically teams up with this news reporter named Ebenezer Ball Squeezer.
Fucking middle school level shit.
And they kill a bunch of people, and then they kill the bad guy. And Officer Pigsley dies a hero. So, okay.
I didn't even remember him dying. It was that fucking forgettable. Like, I love to watch, like, bad movies, but, like, this was not even, like... Okay, it was entertaining, but it was also very forgettable.
But that's the Officer Pigsley arc, is that he is inexplicably goes through a chain of people only to wind up exactly back where he started and nothing's changed.
Yep.
And then he just goes and kills a bunch of people, and I'm not even completely sure what the plan was. There's also a bad guy that kidnaps children. Mm-hmm. He's a separate bad guy.
Yep.
And he gets away.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no implication that there's going to be another movie after this. In fact, I'm pretty sure they said this was the big finale. So this guy basically threw a girl in his trunk and drove away, and that's it. That's the resolution. Like, what? He won. Hooray. Like, what? Like, what happened to him? But that's... Trust, there's a lot to unpack, and I'm not going to go into every detail, but here's the main point I'm getting to. So we now have the through line of Officer Pigsley. That's our story.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so there's also super kids. So there's kids that have superpowers, and they're in this movie about half the time.
Oof.
And I have no fucking idea what they have to do with anything.
There was very little connection.
I don't, like, Officer Pigsley is there going, oh no, there's stuff happening, but it doesn't have to do with any of the people he kills or the people he meets. Basically, they exist, and then there's this fight where at one point there's this bad super kid that goes, I'm gonna beat you up, good super kid! And the good super kid goes, nah, and they have a horrible, awful fight.
Yep.
Not horrible as in, my gosh, this was tragic. But like, just
it was tragic to watch.
Yes, and then another super kid shows up and joins in the fight, and we don't even see how it ends. They never come back. I'm like, what? Why was this in here?
So many loose ends.
It did not connect well enough. But I loved it.
It was a great shit show.
As a piece of writing, it really didn't work at all.
On any level.
But it was so enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because of how it didn't work. And Officer Pigsley, the guy playing him was getting into that character. You know? So I want to give him props.
And the filmmaker appeared in his own movie as the bad guy.
Yeah, he was actually two bad guys. He was also the floating demon head.
Oh, that's right.
I don't remember how that ties in.
Yeah, me neither.
My turn.
Yep.
And let me tell you this. That last movie
Yep.
had super kids.
Uh-huh.
This movie
Yep.
had dying kids.
Oh, shit. That's serious.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, wow.
It's just a very upsetting movie.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it's a heavy movie.
I guess.
And that movie is called Six Balloons.
I don't know what this is about because I didn't see it.
Well, you can imagine that Six Balloons is going to be pretty heavy.
I guess. Was it?
Yes.
Really?
It's about someone trying to get over a heroin addiction.
Oh, fuck. I was picturing 6 like literal like balloons, like a balloon animal or something. Like a balloon animal full of heroin.
It was a surprisingly short movie too. It's a Netflix movie. But it's really just a very raw story about someone that's trying to get off of heroin. I'm pretty sure that's the drug. I'm gonna feel like a fucking moron if I fucked that up. But he can't, and he has a kid too, and you can tell like he likes being a father a lot.
Yeah.
But the drugs are obviously making it complicated.
Right.
And it's a very simple story, but it's just fascinating to watch. It really is. And Dave Franco, did I say he was in this?
No.
Dave Franco plays the guy on drugs.
Oh.
I feel like he had a very strong performance in this. The kid wasn't great, but, it's a kid.
Yeah,
Whatever.
you can't expect too much out of them.
But yeah, the only thing that I'm a little confused about is why it was called Six Balloons.
Because there's like balloons of heroin. Like that's the type. One of the types of baggies you put heroin in is like deflated balloons.
Well, okay. And there was a party in the movie that they were trying to get to that had balloons. But why 6?
Oh, well. Were there...
You are helping me out by telling me that balloons are a heroin term. It might be because throughout the movie there were interludes of self-help steps.
Were there 6 of them?
Maybe there were 6 of them, but even still, I don't exactly understand. It's like 6 balloons. Are the balloon steps?
Yeah.
I was very confused. And honestly, I didn't know anything about this movie. I'm just like, well, I like balloons and I like numbers.
The best combo.
That's literally all I went on. I'm like, 6 balloons. Nice.
99 Loof balloons.
Yeah. I enjoy that song.
Yeah.
But the title is a large part of my enjoyment.
Yeah.
Wait, was that song about heroin?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, if it was, that'd be a lot of heroin.
Yes, it would be quite a bit of heroin. So, all right, that does help me. I wasn't familiar with the balloon heroin terminology connection there, but I don't know. I'm not sure why there were 6.
I mean, I can't help you there, but I do think it is always refreshing to see a movie about drug addiction where the person isn't portrayed as a monster or a criminal, and it's just someone who's struggling with, like, a serious issue, and it's not worth demonizing them over. They're not perfect, but they're not, the devil, and it's just a good reminder that you should always, have empathy for people.
Yeah, it did a really excellent job of just, this is a guy struggling. He's not a monster. It's a guy struggling. And you were rooting for him, and it was hard.
Yeah.
Hard to watch what he was going through, especially with the daughter, too. It was really brutal. Next movie?
Yeah!
Here you go!
Thanks. Russell, I'm rustling the papers. Oh, okay.
You got a big one there.
Yeah, I did.
This just seems regular sized, honestly. You got 2.
I didn't.
You got 2.
I didn't look at one of them, so it's okay. It's okay.
All right, I'll let that slide.
So, a nice palate cleanser from a heavy movie about the struggles of drug addiction.
And balloons.
This movie actually did have balloons, but in a more positive context. It was about a clown.
Oh.
Yeah, a very happy clown. And just it just follows the everyday life of a clown and nothing bad happens.
So it's just a very upbeat, pleasant movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's Lizzie.
Oh.
Yep. This is did you see it?
No.
Okay.
Lizzie's a clown?
Nope. Lizzie is an axe murderer.
Oh. So just confirming, not a clown.
I mean, to be fair, it could have happened before the movie,
or after.
After she does the murder, she's like, you know what, I'm gonna take up clowning.
You never know.
But this is about Lizzie Borden, who is a historical murderess, I guess you'd say.
Would you say that?
No, you'd still say murderer, but I have heard the word murderess used. Wow. But it might be old-timey. But it's about a woman who she basically got away with the murder of her parents. She was put on trial and everything, and they're like, you know what? She's a woman. Women aren't capable of violence. But they do kind of rework some things in this from the original history, where Lizzie Borden develops a relationship with her family's maid, and in history I don't think there's any evidence of this. And they also throw in some needless exploitation of a woman by having her dad rape the maid. And there's no, maybe this was in the history books. I did research into it to see what lined up and what didn't, and I didn't see anything about that. But it just kind of seemed like, oh hey, this shows how much you'll be rooting for her to murder her dad. And it's just like,
do you want to be rooting for Lizzie?
She's a complicated character. She's got epilepsy. She's got some kind of mental issue, but she does show warmth towards the maid, I guess. She's very standoffish otherwise, and that's obviously not a problem or anything. It doesn't make her a worse person, but the axe murder kind of does.
Yeah. Are there do we see a lot of the axe murders? I was wondering. Okay, I'm assuming she murdered a bunch of people with axes.
No, she murdered 2 people.
So
she murdered her dad and her stepmom.
Okay.
The stepmom was, I guess, murdered because she was naggy and supported the guy who molested her lover. And the family was trying to get her committed to an insane asylum also. So that probably contributed to her the wanting to get rid of them. A lot of the movie is just everything leading up to this. It begins with showing the actual bodies dead and bloody already, and then it's like, how did we get there? Ooh, I bet you're wondering how I got in this position. Let me show you.
My name's Lizzie.
And I got a story for you. Doo-doo, boop, boop. And that's how she became a clown. She went on the run.
It all started at the circus.
And before I knew it, my ringleader's blood was on my hands. And I killed all the lions.
The tiger didn't even do anything.
I just wanted to see the life drain from its eyes. But, yeah, it just shows, I don't know, the sexism of society back then, and how, instead of dealing with mental illness in a proper way, they just want to deny responsibility and push it onto someone else. And all this pressure kind of builds on her until it eventually cracks. And for the most part, the movie was kind of on the dull side. Chloe Sevigny was Lizzie Borden. She did great. Kristen Stewart was the maid. She was also better than I've seen her in past movies, but it was a very, very slow burn, and the final thing at the end I don't think was worth the build up because it was very quick. But the one interesting part about it, which again I don't know if it's historically accurate, but Lizzie before she murdered her stepmom and then her dad took all her clothes off, so she was naked holding a hatchet, and she goes up behind her stepmom, and her mom sees her, and she's like, surprised, and then she sees the hatchet, and she's just like, oh, this isn't a weird naked family fun time. And she gets hatcheted to death. And then I was guessing like, oh, maybe she took her clothes off because she didn't want to get blood on them, but maybe it was a psychological thing. I don't know. But
she was hot.
yes, there were too many clothes, and it was a hot summer day.
It was laundry day.
Yeah, that's true. She didn't have any clothes.
Was she totally naked?
Yes.
Did you like it?
No. It was a weird moment, and not anything that would inspire lust unless you're in someone about to axe murder their step-parent.
Okay, but I take the scene and I tweak it digitally where instead of an axe, she has flowers. And she's giving her mom some nice flowers.
It'd still be weird to find it, like, sexually attractive, like, even in an intimate, warm moment. So I don't think it works on any level.
Was she like 12?
No, she was, like, in her late 30s.
Oh, okay.
It was still weird. Before she murders the dad, she has the maid like, hey, you want to come help me with this? And the maid's like, yeah, I don't know. And then the maid was naked too, and they were both naked. And then the dad was like asleep on the couch. And if I recall correctly, I think Lizzie got the maid to kill the dad because it was like revenge for her molesting her, which I feel like might be historically inaccurate because I'm pretty sure Lizzie killed both her parents. But it was basically Lizzie getting someone else to do the killing for her.
Okay, so we take this scene with these two naked women.
Okay.
Replace the axe with flowers.
Okay.
The maid is just bonking the dad with flowers.
Bonking the dad, okay.
And petals are going everywhere.
Gotcha.
There's petals all over the dad, but he's having a nice sleep. In fact, he's sleeping even better now because he feels very pleasant.
Okay.
That's sexy to you?
No.
No?
No.
You're not thinking of the butt cheeks?
Nope. They were very sallow. That's a weird word to use for it.
Those sallow buttocks.
That was the first word that came to mind. They look like very malnourished butt cheeks.
Those are the worst. Feed those asses.
Feed them meat.
Here's some corn.
Oh my god. That's a horrifying image.
Asses eating corn on the cob.
It just makes me think of that South Park where they put food in their asses and they poop out their mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fair connection to Lizzie.
All right, but that's the movie. It was a very interesting biopic, but I feel like it took some creative liberties.
All right. Well, the movie I'm picking, I know that you didn't choose to be turned on by naked moments, but this one got me going.
Oh boy.
Oh no, am I? There are ways that this could go wrong.
We'll see if it will.
But this movie, it was very arousing.
Oh man.
That movie, of course, is Unsane. It's not the worst. She's an attractive leading lady.
Yeah, but the context.
Yeah, it's okay. So I love this movie.
It was a pretty great movie.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
To me, basically, this is a woman that I think voluntarily checks herself into an insane asylum, but on accident, because she's trying to just see a doctor, but she signs something and she's put into an insane asylum, and she swears that one of the people working there is her stalker because she has a serious stalker. But as the movie goes on, she seems put together.
Yeah.
But you begin to wonder if she's actually insane.
Yeah.
And if she's just imagining that this stalker is working there. And it's crazy. I'd say half the movie, you have no idea. Like, is she insane? Is she not insane? And then at a certain point, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And then it really starts rolling. And
for sure.
It's great because it's kind of it's two different moods really. The first is just a mystery and you have no idea what's going on, but then when you figure out what's going on, it becomes a thriller.
Yeah.
And it's great because you really wind up rooting for the person that you're rooting for. Mm-hmm. And they don't win easy.
No.
There's a real struggle, and it's very interesting just because I guess I can give it away. Or I could not give it away. But essentially the power dynamic between the person you're rooting against and the person you're rooting for is fascinating. Like the kind of limitations that are put on the person you want to win and the kind of power that the other person has is so interesting. And their relationship is also really interesting. I loved the storytelling in this movie. Yeah. It was so gripping. There's that one character that was super helpful and then I feel so bad. Was he lobotomized? Am I remembering that correctly?
It was a botched lobotomy, I think.
Sucked.
Electroshock therapy, I think it was, taken to the extreme.
That turned him into... I mean, I'm pretty sure he died.
He died, and then they said it was a drug overdose.
But he became stupid for a little bit. Or am I just throwing that in there?
I think he might have just killed him off screen.
Well, either way, that's just... That... Oh, that sucked.
It was brutal.
I felt so bad for him. But, yeah. It didn't exactly have a happy ending, really. But it had a very satisfying ending, I'll say.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend this. Mm-hmm. Steven Soderbergh.
He's got cool style.
Yeah. He's back and better than ever.
And one part of this I really liked, because the whole asylum genre, where someone is mistakenly put into an asylum, or I guess nowadays it's more of a mental institution, and you have to figure out whether they're actually crazy or not. Like, it's been done to death in certain aspects, but this put it in a more modern context, so it's not like a straitjacket where, like, all the orderlies are, like, unreasonably monstrous or abusive. I mean, the orderlies here are nasty, but that's only because the patients can be nasty back. The monster of this movie not only was the stalker, but like big pharma or corporations that trick people into signing themselves up for these mental institutions as an insurance scam, basically. So it's like the health insurance people are the big bad monster in this movie, along with
the actual monster.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, you're right that has probably been done to death. Is this person insane or not? But I think what made it work so well is that even though it was a mystery, the way it worked is you weren't thinking, man, I just don't know, is she crazy or not? You're either thinking, she's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
Or then you suddenly shift that, oh, she's crazy. It's you kept switching sides, but I feel like you had a side. You know what I mean?
Right.
Until you finally figured it out. And I'm glad we've mostly not spoiled this.
Yeah, I think we did a good job jumping around stuff for once.
And certain things we have. But it's a great movie. Would recommend.
Yeah.
Empowering too. Mm-hmm. Matt Damon stars in it.
Yep, starring role.
Yes, starring role. And yeah, whatever it will arouse you.
For sure. But not in the way you think.
Yeah, ooh, that's good. You made that seem reasonable. All right, buddy, here you go.
All righty. Reaching in this here hat. Yes, sir.
Hey, I don't like you. You got to be yourself.
Sorry.
You have to feel confident enough to be the real Nick.
You're right.
Okay.
And speaking of confidence, this movie is a real self-esteem booster. It's
perfect.
It's a documentary about believing in yourself.
I always think you're just going to, like, keep it simple. Like, if really just to boost my self-esteem. Now I'm going to add on all these details. Like,
I guess once in a while I should keep it simple.
I mean,
I'll mix it up.
We got different auras going here. This is fine. Tell me about this documentary.
Well, it's about self-help and how to find your inner child.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds like something we could all use in our lives.
Yep, exactly. And this is Best Friends Volume 1. And I pronounce it weirdly like that because the R in Friends is in parentheses. So it's like Best Friends, but also Best Fiends. So I combine it and say Friends.
Yeah, I really don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it.
They don't make that clear.
Yeah. So this is 2 movies that are both feature length. There's Volume 1 and there's Volume 2.
Yep.
We saw Volume 1.
We did.
We did not see Volume 2.
We did not.
I don't anticipate that we will see Volume 2.
I don't think so. I mean, if it was right in front of me, maybe, but I don't see that happening.
Basically, I feel like an idiot because I was suckered into this for the... I assumed they wanted to sucker people in exactly the way they suckered me in.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of The Room, the bad movie by Tommy Wiseau, but I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah.
I respect how bad it is.
Right.
And so they said, all right, there's going to be a new movie with Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero. I'm like, cool. I'm very curious to see what that movie would be and what would happen. But essentially, it was not a movie by them.
No.
I think Greg Sestero wrote it.
Yeah.
But totally different director. Tommy Wiseau, from what I know, just acted in it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this until the end. And I went, fuck me. Because that's not what I want. I wanted to see, how did these filmmakers grow? But that's not what this movie is.
No.
So that was annoying. But it's like, okay, let's take your thwarted expectations aside. How was it? I feel like the most I can say for it is that Tommy Wiseau, as an actor, was utilized well, because he's a very bizarre person, but he played a very bizarre character.
Yeah.
And the other characters were not as bizarre, so I feel like it worked. And that led to some fun moments. But ultimately, I just didn't care really about what was going on. It was just a long, drawn-out scam, I guess, of trying to sell teeth from dead people.
Yeah, because he was a mortician.
Which, there's something interesting there, and I remember I was kind of hooked for maybe the first 40 minutes or...
Yeah, me too.
Even a little longer than that, because it's just this homeless guy that gets a job helping out a mortician. And I'm like, there is something here. Mm-hmm. And then they go on a plot to sell teeth to make money. I'm like, okay, I haven't seen that before. And it just totally lost steam after that, and I stopped caring. I think it became like a rivalry or something between... And it had this really bizarre artsy ending where you just have no idea what the fuck is going on. I think Tommy Wiseau was pushed off of a cliff by Greg Sestero and died. And then there was this teaser for Volume 2 that implies things are going to get really, really weird. But I just lost faith at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe they did get really, really weird. I mean, why? You could have just done that.
In the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it just, I don't know.
Yeah, the problem was, the reason people like The Room is because Tommy Wiseau doesn't understand human behavior, and so all his lines of dialogue are like alien from like another dimension coming down and trying to guess what humans act like. And this screenplay, at least the Greg and whoever else wrote it understood how humans behave, so it made some kind of sense in certain aspects. And I didn't fucking want sense. I wanted like legitimate, like absurd nonsense. And like they tried to give us nonsense, but it was through the minds of sane people. So I didn't like that.
Yeah, I feel like it took out a lot of the flavor of what made The Room appealing. I mean, there's definitely something to, here's what it looked like if these people are utilized properly in their performances. And you're like, wow, okay. But then after a while, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? It's definitely interesting, but then you don't care.
Right.
And it's like, well, is this what I wanted? Did I really want this the whole time? No.
Yeah.
We all just want another Tommy Wiseau movie.
Exactly. He needs to get back in the saddle.
And, I mean, hopefully this might lead to something, but I have no idea.
You know what'd be crazy?
What?
If Tommy Wiseau wrote a Marvel movie.
Oh, man. Is he going to direct Infinity War Part 2?
Oh, hi, Thanos.
He is Thanos.
I hate you. I kill half universe.
Wow. Oh, that could be good. I genuinely think Tommy Wiseau could actually pull off some sort of character in the Marvel universe. I don't know who, but he feels like he could make a good comic book character.
Yeah.
He seems weird enough.
He seems like he definitely need to be from another dimension.
Yeah. Though at the same time, I'm almost like, we gotta stop talking so much about Tommy Wiseau. Everyone's talking about, there are other weird people making strange movies out there. There's Officer Pigsley out there that just aren't getting enough attention. So
yeah,
Tommy Wiseau, good for you, but let's give some other people the spotlight. Like this movie, for example, that I'm picking.
Yep.
This is a great example of an underrated movie by another terrible, terrible filmmaker that I really think deserves a lot more attention, honestly.
Yep.
And that movie, of course, is The Predator.
Oh
no! Okay, so
baby.
Shane Black.
Yep.
I really like him as a writer and director. Also, he's very popular, so he's not underrated.
Yeah.
He made some of my favorite movies. I love The Nice Guys. Really good. So I was excited for The Predator because as far as I'm concerned, this guy's never gone wrong before. I haven't seen everything he's done, but yeah, he's made either good stuff or stuff that I was all over. And I was not familiar with The Predator.
Yeah.
In fact, I still have not seen any of the Predator movies outside of this one.
Yeah, I saw the first one in preparation for this. And interestingly enough, Shane Black was one of the actors in it.
That is interesting.
But I saw where the hype came from, and I saw that it definitely was unique because it was early on. There weren't many horror movies that had a good amount of action in it, and this blended action and horror pretty well. The only problem was its leading person was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's very hard to maintain tension when you have a strong Austrian accent and strange acting. He can act, he's capable of it, but in certain circumstances it really just falls apart. Like this is the movie where "Get to the chopper" comes from.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And said by any other person, that would be like,
Get to the chopper!
It could be intense, but it's just, it becomes
Get to the chopper!
It becomes a fucking meme.
I'm not even sure it's his accent. I feel like he's just
His
kind
delivery.
of a shitty actor.
Because, you know what, you're right, because Christoph Waltz has an Austrian accent, and he's a fucking incredible actor.
Yeah, that's an amazing comparison, actually. Yeah.
So I think it's just Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Christoph Waltz could deliver "Get to the chopper," and he'd be like, "We better get to the chopper."
Yeah, he's not fucking around. He's not a meme.
Oh, but Christoph Waltz in The Predator.
Yeah.
I would have gone for that. But I didn't exactly know what to expect from this, but I was assuming it would be a horror comedy, and I thought it would be very interesting. I'm like, wow, if Shane Black is doing The Predator, he must have a very creative direction to take this in.
Yeah.
Not that I knew how it would be going in a different direction since I wasn't really familiar with the other Predator movies, but regardless, I was on board for this.
Me too. I like the first Predator. I'm like, this one looks even better. It has an all-star cast. It's got Keegan, what's his name?
Michael Key.
Michael Key. It's got a guy who played Theon Greyjoy. It's got Thomas Jane. It's got Olivia Munn. It's got quite the list of peeps.
Yeah.
And again, I liked The Nice Guys too, and I liked other stuff Shane Black did, so I was like, sign me up.
It was jaw-droppingly awful.
I was fucking stunned.
I can't believe it. happened, it was so awful that I don't know where to begin, but I'll pick this spot.
Yep.
The ragtag soldiers, but they all had various mental problems or something.
They were all on the way to like a supermax prison, and the prison bus was smashed, so they, to survive, teamed up.
I feel like they just weren't funny. I like the concept of just having a funny group of people having to kill a monster or something, but I didn't find any of them funny. One of them, the sole joke was he had Tourette's, and he's just like, all right, pussy! And they were actually making jokes. Did you just say pussy? No, he has to. But pussy! I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because
that's a legitimate mental illness.
Yes. One, it's offensive. But two, it's not even good humor.
No.
There wasn't anything clever or interesting about it. It would make as much sense as if he didn't have Tourette's or he's just, did you just fart? No. Like, yes, you did. I can smell it. Like, that's what it feels like.
That would actually be kind of funny, I feel like, though.
But no, it would.
Yeah, you're right.
And that was, like, they just weren't funny to me.
I don't think I laughed once, and there were a lot of quote-unquote jokes made throughout the whole goddamn movie.
Yeah. There were moments where I feel like they were trying to be subversive. He's called the Predator, but is he technically a predator? Jeez. But maybe some of these jokes I would have been more inclined to like if I was on board with the rest of the movie. But the rest was a mess, and we're also going to get to that. But
yep.
I think these guys, that's where I saw the most Shane Black, because I feel like there were moments where they were having some dialogue, and it was pretty funny, and it kind of felt like a Shane Black movie. But the characters overall, I just didn't gel with any of them. I didn't find them particularly funny.
No.
And so there'd be these funny dialogue moments, but I wouldn't really be on board. In fact, there's only like one dialogue moment I can even think of. It's when they all kind of banded together trying to come up with a plan for how they're going to stop the Predator. But that was problematic. The Tourette's thing I hated. I hated that so much.
Which thing?
The Tourette's thing.
Oh, yeah. That was... And also the main character's son being on the spectrum, and I feel like they exploited that as a plot point.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it was technically a positive thing, because I guess they were saying that the Predators were trying to capture the best specimen on Earth so they could learn from it or something.
Yeah.
And so, because of this kid's autism, he was able to understand this alien language very quickly, is what I'm gathering. And so it was basically implied, all right, you know, this autism makes him superior to everyone else, which, you know, in a certain respect is true. But it's technically a positive thing.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see how it's exploitative.
Yeah.
And in this movie especially, that was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, why this movie?
Yeah.
Because I could not fucking tell you what there was a Predator.
There was a super Predator.
And then there was a Predator that wanted to kill the Predator.
The little Predator.
And they were mixed in.
The big Predator had dogs.
Essentially, it starts off, it's like a Predator movie, I guess. Like, oh, we found this robot and we're going to examine him. Oh, he's attacking people. Oh, geez. And then we meet these ragtag silly guys. Like, we're silly. And then they just kind of talk for a while.
Yep.
And then the Predator comes back. And then there's another Predator.
Yep.
Like, oh.
Kills the little Predator.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everyone starts dying. Like they just decided, oh, we have to kill people.
Oh, right. It's a horror movie. Yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about. How, like, throughout the movie, no one was dying. Like, you see background people dying. It's just like all these main characters are getting through unscathed. One guy almost gets killed, but then he's fine. And I'm just like, are they just going to have everyone survive through the whole thing? And then in the last 20 minutes, it's just like, it's like the screenwriter looked at his page count and he's just like, oh shit, we only have 20 more pages. Better kill everyone immediately.
And he didn't care about these characters because they were just annoying. And you're just thinking, what is the point of all of this? I also just, the way that things were constructed up until that point, you're just like, what is going on? The characters are just really unlikable and not funny, and that really didn't help. And you're just trying to figure out, like, what is the point here? What is being accomplished right now? And it never really comes together in a satisfying way. And then these characters are dying. Some of the deaths happen so quick you don't even realize they happened.
Exactly.
You don't give a shit. There was one creative one where there's a force field being made and it cuts a guy in half, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And there was supposed to be an emotional moment between two, like, friends who, like, shoot each other to put each other out of their misery, and it's just like, oh, it's the two likable guys, and I'm just like, I don't fucking care. Do it.
Nope. I thought it was a bit. I didn't think they'd actually kill themselves.
Yeah.
I almost didn't even believe that people were actually dying, because that's the movie absolutely did not prepare me for there being consequences, I guess, or like to have things actually happen.
Yeah.
That it was so shocking when people started, wait, really? No, you're pranking me.
It's probably a dream.
Yeah. Like, nope, it
the
was
predator
happening.
just wakes up. Oh, that was such a great dream. If only I could kill people for real.
Then it had the audacity, after being so sloppy, it had this tease for a Predator universe where this main character that I did not like at all, he's just this cocky guy, like, yeah, I guess they discovered some weapon, like, there's gonna be an even bigger Predator, but this is a weapon left behind by one of the Predators. Like, I'm gonna use that one for the next movie. And cut the credits. And I'm like, what happened? How did we get here?
Shane.
It had to be the studio.
I think...
Because with Shane's projects that I really like are his.
Yeah.
This isn't his property,
It doesn't feel like it.
So there was definitely room for people to fuck with him.
And other screenwriters, I feel like, stepping in.
I guess the main problems are the characters were annoying.
Yep.
And you did not know where this was going.
Right.
But it definitely wasn't going... I don't exactly know what I expected from this. But I thought it would be a lot more violent, a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of assholes talking to each other and predators not really doing much at all.
Not doing much pre-dating.
Yes. There was a lot of dating, however.
Yes.
The predators are dating.
Yeah, they were in love.
Hold on, I've got a date. Yeah.
Yep.
It was nice.
Yep.
Nick, you know what I would like you to do?
What would you like me to do, Drew?
Pick from this hat.
Well, if you insist.
Please pick a movie.
I'm working on it. I don't want to just pick the first one my hand touches.
Pick a movie.
I gotta make it special.
I'm sorry I yelled.
That's okay. Well, that last movie was a disappointing film from a great filmmaker. But this next movie is a terrific film from an awful filmmaker.
Wow.
So it evens out.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And this movie is American Animals.
Ooh.
So we both saw this separately, and I don't actually know who the filmmaker is and if they're good or not. But the movie itself was, in fact, very good.
Yeah, and this is a Movie Pass movie, I believe.
Yep. Ooh, should we get into that whole thing as a preface, or?
Well, I mean, getting to the short of it, basically, Movie Pass is like, hey, guess what? For $10, you can see one movie every day. Wow, cool. This seems incredibly unsustainable. How are you going to pull it off? They didn't. And at this point, it is so bad that you are now paying $10 to get to see 3 movies a month. And those 3 movies are from a list of 6 obscure indie movies that are barely playing in even the most populated cities.
Yep.
So it's basically completely useless. You are just throwing away your $10. And I'm sure the movies are probably pretty good, but it's just there's no variety. Why would you not just at that point go out and buy movie tickets to one of those indie movies? You know what I mean? So
it just, I held on to it for as long as I could. And I was like, maybe they'll work things out. Maybe they'll work things out. And then like 3 months into this shit show, I'm just like, okay, I can't take it anymore. I've literally went like a month or 2 without even using my movie pass. So fuck it.
Yeah. No, it's not worth it at all.
No.
Yeah, but American Animals, I choose to not. Movie Pass is only associated, I think, in a distributive way.
Yeah.
But it was just a fine heist movie about 4 teenagers that think that they can pull off a heist, and whoops, they are... I don't want to call them dumbasses because I feel like it's very realistic that you think, all right, this is how it's going to go. You get into it. Things can go wrong because you think you're going to act one way and you don't.
Whoops.
And that, to me, was the most compelling part of the movie. And that was pretty much all of the movie.
Pretty much.
Watching how the heist went wrong was really interesting to me. Seeing them plan it was fine, and seeing the aftermath was fine. I also liked, I would be remiss to not mention this, that this is based on a true story, and you actually had the people that this was based on talking about it. So in a weird way, it was a documentary / a narrative.
Which is very unique.
Yeah, stylistically it was cool. There's one point where usually when these characters are talking, it was definitely separated. It was in a narrative sense.
Yeah.
And you'd see them with backgrounds and then it'd cut to the narrative. At one point, it might have happened more than once, but I think it was just once.
I think once.
You actually saw the narrator characters in the narrative.
The real life version of him.
Yeah, and that was just really odd to me.
Yeah.
If that happened a lot, it could have been really interesting, like having the real life people interact with their fictionalized characters.
Yeah.
There is something there for some kind of a movie, but
here it was just kind of out of place.
Yeah, I mean, it was distracting because it's not the kind of movie that it wanted to be, but also just having it happen once was, wait, what? Yeah. So what was the point of that?
It was clearly the real life main dude. There was no disguising him. It was very obvious, like, hey, look, it's that guy in real life. And it's just like, and it makes the viewer go, wait, why are you? Oh, he's going. Okay, never mind. I guess we're back to everyone's fictional again.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it for those reasons.
I'd say it's better than your average heist movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what?
What?
This movie I'm about to pick out.
Uh-huh.
It's an average heist movie.
Oh, well, can't win them all.
It's disappointing, but you know what? You gotta have your heist movies, and sometimes they're just not gonna be A+ material.
No, sometimes.
And you know, it was a very popular heist movie, though. Average as it may be, a lot of people took to this, and I know people are gonna be talking about, wow, that heist movie that was called Lowlife.
Oh. There actually is a bit of a heist involved in this.
Hey! I didn't see it, so does that mean it's a horror movie?
No. Okay. For once, it's a movie I saw that wasn't a horror movie.
Just 5 of these movies you've seen and I haven't.
It's pretty crazy.
Look at you go, man.
I'm on a little roll here, a little dinner roll.
I feel like it's gonna end, though.
What do you mean? Yeah, probably. I've burned a lot of.
Your supply is exhausted.
Yeah, basically. Lowlife is a very interesting look into different aspects of criminal enterprise. And one of the main characters is a kingpin, and he deals in organ harvesting and sex trafficking and just the worst, like, most unforgivable, like, businesses, I use businesses in quotes.
He was a lawyer?
Oh, got him. But the worst kinds of businesses to be in, and like the lowest of the low lives. So it earns the title, but it's applicable to different characters. It follows different characters, and it does a Pulp Fiction-y type thing where it goes through one person's like side of the story, then it flashes back and goes through another, and then a third, and then finally it shows them all come together in the end for a dramatic climax. And each character was very unique and fun and well written. For example, there was a former disgraced luchador who comes from a long line of luchadors, and he's disgraced because he hasn't wrestled in a while, and he's also shorter than all his previous ancestors.
Oh.
But he's still taller than literally everyone else in the movie, but he considers himself like a midget in the eyes of his forefathers. So, and he speaks in Spanish most of the movie. So he's a really fun character, and he's also like a enforcer for this organ harvesting dude. So he's fun, but he's also associated with this bad guy. And you kind of see potential for redemption there and breaking away from this nasty dude. And this nasty dude, by the way, is also associated with ICE, which is Immigration Customs Enforcement.
Oh, I thought you meant like ice powers.
Or ice cubes. There's a really funny duo, and it's a black guy and his white friend, and they're the closest buddies. But when the white friend gets out of jail, the black friend immediately notices he has a certain tattoo on his face, and it's a swastika. Literally on his fucking face. And he's like, I had to do it in prison to survive, man. They get divided up into gangs, and if you don't pick a side, you get killed real quick. And he's just like, you could have gotten it like on a sleeve that you could hide. It's literal, there's no hiding it. And so he gets into these different situations, and it's just like, you fucking Nazi. And he's just like, my best friend's black. And it's just like a hilarious misunderstanding. I was not, it looked like just a weird, dark comedy indie movie, but it ended up being a lot deeper than that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I saw Lowlife and I thought, it sounds like a horror movie or something, but I was not expecting it to be a fun comedy romp.
Well, it wasn't, it had some seriously dark, messed up moments that I'm not going into detail of, but yeah.
I don't doubt that at all. But that about wraps it up for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And, stay tuned with the Blinkity Bloop podcast episodes, but also our band and the exciting things happening. I am currently in the process of trying to get one of our latest songs distributed.
Really?
And, yeah.
You didn't tell me.
No, it's the elevator thing. I told you about that.
The elevator thing.
We're trying to get it. They play music in elevators.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's exciting.
What elevators?
I mean, the malls. But I'm not sure if we're going to be able to. Basically, I've been trying to go to different elevators and see which ones are playing music.
Yeah.
'Cause I know elevator music is a thing, but
right.
a lot of them are just
silent.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
It makes me wonder if I ever even heard elevator music before, if it was just
in movies.
But I know it's got to be
out there. I mean, maybe they're just waiting for people like us to show up and be like, would you like our music in your elevator?
Honestly, I really think that there's a lot of people that ride elevators.
Exactly. And
in a mall, I know a lot of people take escalators, but I'd say there's probably a good 20 people that would be in that elevator within 2 or 3 days, probably.
Right. And you'd want music accompanying your ride up or down, because, traditionally elevator music is more for like longer elevator rides when there's like a 30-floor building, but you can use it just as much for like a 3-floor mall.
Oh, actually.
Maybe we should get in touch with like office buildings.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Because they're only going to hear so
like
much of the music.
20 seconds of it.
Oh boy, we're gonna have to find really tall buildings.
Yeah, we don't really live around too many of those. We might have to venture forth.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I definitely think
yeah.
there's a market here, though, for a band.
Yeah, for sure.
But for now, if you're looking for a place to explore and you don't want to make it a tall building, Fisher Mist Media will do. Fisher Mist Media can take care of all of your audio needs, which includes podcasts, it includes music, and guess what? It includes movies. Movies include a lot of audio. Am I right,
Yep,
Nick?
you betcha.
And Fisher Mist Media is going to take care of any audio that you need taken care of for your movies. It doesn't matter what the budget is. In fact, the bigger the budget, the more you are welcome. So come to Fisher Mist Media. We would, well, that shouldn't say we, they would love to accommodate
We're
you.
not really associated.
No,
I mean,
we're
yeah.
a band.
Yeah, we're our own separate entity.
Yeah, we're here as
Yeah.
Blinkity Bloop.
Yeah, right.
The podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.